Welcome, welcome to Shaken and
This
Disturbed,
happened last
everybody.
time.
This happened last time.
Yes.
My name is Daryn Carp, Mother God, Father God, here with
Did you call me
Mother God.
Farter God?
No, I called myself Father God.
Okay.
What is that Spice Girls movement that you're doing? Oh, you're like,
Too much of something, so why don't we give it a try?
okay, there's that too. That is your
Hi, everyone.
martyr, and
That's your
I'm your farter. You're a
martyr.
martyr and you're
Your
farter.
martyr.
But welcome.
Guys,
It's been a minute with a new original case.
I
Our summer
know.
schedules mixed with vacations. We don't need to go on and on
Yeah.
about this, but I know we left you with kind of a gruesome last case.
Yeah.
So
That was
not that this
tough.
case is going to necessarily be any better, but some cases obviously I think are a little
Right.
bit more gruesome and harder to hear than others.
Yeah, yeah, we'll mention I have a little thing to say at the end here, there are listener shout outs, but we did do a flashback episode last week. We did take
Yeah.
some time off. So always fun. We hadn't done a flashback in a while because we're so good at giving you guys new episodes. You know what I mean? We're just really on top of it.
Well, and we're giving you one right
Right
now. Should
now,
we
right
should we
this
get into
moment.
this week's case? Let's do it.
Absolutely, Darren. Let's do it. It's great to hear, to see you guys again on our Facebook group and our Patreon commenting. We have some great stuff on our Patreon, by the way, including we've
Uh,
posted it. Darren, tell everybody what we posted.
Well, my dog, guys, have I told you I got a dog?
Yeah, I
Newsflash,
don't know if you've
guys.
heard the
Breaking
news
news.
for
I
the
got a
last
dog named
several
Snoopy.
months. Yeah.
Boo-doo. And we're trying to teach her all new tricks, and she learned to dance. And so she can basically cha-cha. She's essentially dancing with the stars, and she's a pro. And I sent it to John because I wasn't sure if John was going to be impressed. Because, like, is
Very
anyone
impressed.
impressed with anyone else's dog
Well,
tricks? I don't know, but you seem to be impressed by this.
let me just put it this way, less impressed, more just absolutely in love.
Love,
You
yeah,
know,
cute
it doesn't have
aggression.
anything to do with any skill. Yeah, cute aggression, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Listen to
it's
this
really
week's
cute.
NMR, last week's NMR
Yes.
for that.
Go check it out on our Patreon.
But go on
More
our
on that later.
Patreon.
Yep.
Let's get into this week's case.
That's right. Okay, so Jennifer San Marco, she was born on December 6th, 1961, and she grew up in Brooklyn, where she attended the Edward R. Murrow High School, which is a public school known for its strong arts and academics. After graduating, she enrolled at Brooklyn College and then
Mm.
transferred to Rutgers University in New Jersey, where she studied natural resources management. Now, despite her early ambition, Jennifer did not complete her degree actually, and instead in 1989, she left the East Coast and relocated to California. Now,
Is
by
she
the way, this
me?
is Darren, the story of Darren Carp, going to school
Basically,
on the East
Jersey. And
Coast,
yeah.
Jersey, going to California. It's a whole thing,
Yes.
guys. Well, that year, she was hired as a corrections officer at a Chuckawalla Valley State Prison, which is at that time, a medium security prison, facility in the California desert. However, Jennifer quit this new job just 2 days before finishing her probationary period and declined to provide a reason for her sudden resignation.
Hmm.
Now, by the mid 90s, Jennifer had moved to Santa Barbara County and
Uh,
taken a job. I knew you were going to do this as a dispatcher for the Santa Barbara Police Department. Now, Darren, you've talked about it on
Listen to
the
NMR.
NMR
Yes.
episodes, but you love Santa Barbara. Go ahead, tell us a little bit about it.
It was leading up to basically the one when I got engaged, went there for my brother's wedding. Highly recommend.
There you go. Now, of course, she passed both a psychological evaluation and background check that was required for the role. And though this job came with a steady salary and benefits, Jennifer lasted only a few months at that job. Now, not that it means anything necessarily, I would say, but I think it's interesting to note that it seems like she can't really hold down a gig or commit or follow through on finishing some of her goals, even like, her degree.
And it could just be
So,
a time in her life. I think
yeah,
sometimes
we've all
people
been through
have
those things.
rocky periods. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The department noted that short employment periods were not uncommon. So, given the demands of the position, right? That's another good point. This is
Totally.
heavy stuff, I'm sure, that she was dealing with. But in 1997, Jennifer started working nights as a clerk at the United States Postal Service's mail processing plant in Goleta.
No, Goleta, and that's exactly where
Goleta.
I stayed and where the wedding was in Goleta,
What?
which is in Santa Barbara, which is where my
What?
sister-in-law's parents live.
Okay, this is getting kind of creepy,
Weird.
actually.
Yeah, I mean, I was just
What
in
if it's,
Goleta.
and then the next line here, guys, turns out Jennifer is actually Darren Carp.
Exactly. In fact, the
Oh,
hotel we stayed at was called the Lita.
are you kidding? Oh my God. Goleta. I have not heard of Goleta. I don't know why,
Goleta.
but
Yeah.
okay, good to know. Well, she purchased a condo nearby and finally seemed to be setting into a routine here. And then in 2000, she picked up a second job serving lunch at a local high school, but left that position in less than a year. So
Okay,
a little
so
bit scattered, but when you're relocating, especially across the country, I mean, to some degree, I'm sure you can connect with this. There's a lot of like figuring out and settling in that just is natural to moving, right? So,
yeah, and it's funny because I think now probably moving to Santa Barbara and Goleta, like it's so expensive to live everywhere now, especially like on the coastline and these popular towns that like she
right.
probably hit it at a time that she could do this and
Yeah, that's
afford to
right.
maybe not have a job for a little bit, but we'll see. Now,
Yeah, that's
around that
right.
same time, neighbors started noticing troubling changes in her behavior. Some described episodes that seemed like public tantrums, yelling, pacing, this threatening language. On more than one occasion, Jennifer was seen shouting profanities or screaming song lyrics into the air.
And this is me, by the way, when Carlos Alcaraz doesn't win Wimbledon. Just to give you
Or
an
the Knicks don't
idea,
go to the finals.
there we
Exactly.
go. Just so people know how we relate to
But
this.
also, there is especially in California, especially in LA, there is sort of a transient problem here, and
Yeah.
there is also a drug problem here with some people. So I definitely see mental illness, homelessness,
Yeah, yeah.
and all of this kind of being combined into a lot,
Yeah,
especially here.
fair.
So now around the same time, Jennifer, who was almost 40, John, began getting
Oh,
tattooed.
wow. That did not click for me at all. And then you
Well,
said that.
it
Wow.
clicked for me. Now,
Wow. Well, just give it a minute and it'll be Daryn, but right back at you.
right.
How about that?
Around this time, Jennifer, who was almost 40, like I said, began getting
Like me.
tattoos
Gotcha. Yep.
like you. And on one memorable occasion, she showed them off to her neighbor, Jeannie Steen.
Wait a minute. Do you have a tattoo? Have we talked
I
about
don't.
this? I
I
don't
don't.
either. Okay. I didn't think you did, but I wasn't
But
sure.
and Nadine and I feel like and I know there's tons of couples, but I just feel like our age for a couple not to have any tattoos is
I
like
know. Yeah.
almost
That's,
rare.
yeah.
Everyone always
Yeah.
has like a tattoo, even if
Even
it's
if it's a
small,
little thing. Yeah. Yeah.
that they got at some point, and Nadine and I have none, but I have been sending her things on Instagram of like
Have
getting
you?
the outline of Snoopy on us in some sort of
Oh
way. And
my
she's like,
God.
you gotta stop.
Yeah, maybe take a little bit of a step back on that one. Now,
Yeah.
would you ever consider like a couple's tattoo or anything like that or what?
And if it was of Snoopy, like I don't
Oh
think we
my
would do
God.
like
She's
our
not kidding,
initials.
guys, just so
I'm
you
not.
know.
I like would get Snoopy, like
Like on your
John,
forehead. Yeah,
John,
gotcha.
John, marshmallow. I'd get
Imagine
the
you get it
marshmallow.
on your forehead. You know what you should do? Sorry, guys, we'll get back
Get
to
on
the
my
show.
neck.
You should do a Snoopy fake tattoo, but like get it like to look super real and like kind of
Tell
prank Nadine
Nadine.
and like see what she says.
Oh my God, to be like, Nate,
You should
I
do
did something
it
this afternoon.
and
Actually,
video
that's
it.
very
Get
funny.
Daryn Goldberg, our friend and apparently a production assistant, to record it.
That's
You should
actually
do
really
that.
funny. You could probably make your own temporary tattoos.
Well,
She
I feel
wouldn't
like the
believe it
temporaries,
unless
yeah,
it was
they wouldn't believe.
like,
Yeah,
no,
like
what
a
she
henna
wouldn't,
style almost.
oh,
That's like
maybe.
really on your skin.
They must do that. Okay, we're getting, okay,
Okay,
this is,
we'll do this on
I'm gonna
NMR
look
next
it up
time.
later. Hold
Yeah,
on.
look it up later. That's fine. That's fine.
Great,
Making a note.
good joke though.
Okay,
Okay.
there you go.
So she shows,
Anyway, back to the show.
yes. So Jennifer shows these
Yes.
tattoos to her friend Jeannie Steen. And when Jeannie didn't respond, Jennifer walked around her in a circle and spit on the ground.
Weird behavior, by the way, right away.
And
So,
Jeannie later described the force of her anger as deeply unsettling. Also, just a
right.
very odd, very kid-like response.
Yeah, kind
And
of
in
immature, right?
Yet tantrumy. And in February 2001, Jennifer's behavior escalated inside the mail processing plant where she worked. Deputies were called after she caused a scene on the floor and she was removed from the facility.
Hmm.
Following this incident, Jennifer was taken to a psychiatric hospital in Ventura for a mandatory 3-day evaluation. Her diagnosis, though, was never disclosed. I sort of feel like this is kind of the idea of like going postal, you know how they say like that
Right.
term, because that came from a shooting in a
Yeah, that's
USPS
right.
thing, and so
Around this time too, by the way, early
it all
2000s, I
feels
think.
sort of familiar. Despite the incident, though, she did return to her job at the mail plant soon after, and colleagues reported that her mental health continued to decline. I, for one, if I noticed a coworker's mental health continuing to decline in this very erratic, threatening way, probably would not feel very comfortable working in a plant with someone, especially, just
Yeah.
the exposure. Now, they
Yeah.
began to notice Jennifer sort of arguing with herself, mumbling under her breath, staring sort of blankly into space. Some coworkers said she made racially charged remarks,
Oh,
particularly towards
great.
Asian employees. And Jennifer's former colleague, Jeff Tabala, remembered her hostility, but was sure to note that she never directly threatened anyone, which I do think is important. I think it's a sign of obviously this mental breakdown, this mental illness, as opposed to this vendetta against this one person. It is always interesting to me how, like, people's mental breakdowns clearly go like, oh, kill all the Jews very quickly, or like, I hate Asian people, or black people are
Whatever.
the
Yeah.
worst, whatever it is. Like, it is interesting how these things sort of manifest and these are sort of these like racially targeted things. And I don't know what
Hmm.
that's about.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's a mix of, it sounds like at least with Jennifer, it's a mix of maybe learned behaviors and some mental illness
I
kind of connecting in
guess.
with that, unfortunately. And by the way, we should mention, even in the early 2000s, like mental health awareness was nowhere near what it is today. So
No.
something to think about, especially when it comes to like HR and like, her particular employment situation. Well, in 2003, Jennifer was removed from the plant a second time. According to witnesses, she had crawled underneath a mail sorting machine during a disturbance and refused to come out.
Ooh.
Sheriff's deputies wheeled her out of the building on a mail cart, which sounds maybe kind of illegal, but with her hands cuffed behind her back. Soon after, the U.S. Postal Service placed her on a psychological disability retirement. So they were like, thanks, but you're causing too much of a problem here, basically.
Sure.
Now, her boss, a man named Randy, later explained that the leave was not enacted because Jennifer had threatened others, but out of concern for her own well-being, which you love to hear that, a place, especially like the United States Postal Service, was able to address that and sort of handle it.
Hmm.
In July 2003, Jennifer sold her condo in Goleta and told acquaintances she was planning to go visit her sister on the East Coast. By 2004, Jennifer had resurfaced in the small town of Milan, New Mexico. Her car had broken down in a nearby town, and she simply decided to stay.
Huh.
Now, I'm assuming she was probably going back to California potentially, but let's see how this all plays out. In July of 2004, Jennifer applied for a business license in Milan. Apparently, she planned to launch a periodical called The Racist Press.
Oh,
Oh, lovely. I'm sure that's a
okay.
great, yeah.
I subscribe. I was the first subscriber, obviously, to the
Oh, you
Racist
were?
Press. Yes, of course.
Nice.
Obviously. They needed people, obviously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Now people had noticed Jennifer sort of talking to herself as if she was arguing with someone. Terry also said Jennifer seemed, quote, off in her own little world when not directly interacting with him. The Racist Press newsletter included confusing, error-filled explanations of different religions. It also presented a theory linking the U.S. government to the Son of Sam killer, the Ku Klux Klan, and racist murders and things like that. This is the connection to the U.S. government. This periodical is alleging, I should say.
This is like QAnon in a paper.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it, actually. Yes.
Yeah.
And then in the publication, Jennifer stated, quote, I don't advocate crime, and it is not my intention to sound sympathetic to it. And, quote, most people do not want to be the victim of a crime. Well, that's fair to say, right?
Yeah, I would say I wouldn't think that any person would want to be the victim of a crime.
No, no,
But clearly these are odd manifestations that is not coming from a very mentally balanced person. And later in
exactly.
2004, Jennifer returned to the Milan town office to apply for a business license to make and sell cat food. Magic's ears are perking
Okay.
up.
Now we're kind of leaning into the is this me situation,
Right. Now, this time, the office denied her application because of zoning regulations. So many zoning regulations will kill so much out here in California. And village
Right.
manager Carlos Montoya described Jennifer's behavior during the meeting as increasingly bizarre. He said she
Mm,
continually made strange gestures, acted oddly, was almost always alone, rarely seen socializing. And in March of 2005, office workers called police after Jennifer made some extremely rude remarks to a town employee. The police chief, Jerry Stevens, went to her home but left when he was unable to find her.
mm.
No further incidents related to that complaint were reported. And then after this incident, there were a number of times where Jennifer would enter the post office, stare at one particular employee for extended periods of time, which is terrifying.
Yeah.
Which obviously caused some concern, and coworkers began warning the other employee when Jennifer was coming so she could hide. Montoya said Jennifer would leave, quote, ranting and raving, end quote, if she did not see that employee.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm starting to also
Terrifying.
wonder what kind of maybe drugs could be an influence
Sure,
here. I mean, I
psychotic
don't
break,
know.
although it does
Yeah.
seem like I mean, I would think that they would report something coming from her. Sometimes you can tell when people are on
Yeah.
drugs or just
Yeah.
being a little
Right.
out there. But yeah, hard to tell. And
Hard
maybe
to
drugs
say.
are a part of this for sure.
Well, a couple years late go by. In June 2005, police spoke to Jennifer following a complaint about public nudity at a gas station. This is getting more along the lines of drugs, if you ask me. Although, who knows? Officers arrived at the scene to find her dressed and actually warned her about the state law. Locals later remembered seeing Jennifer talking to herself on the street. Sometimes she would even kneel on the road to pray.
Mm.
John Phillip, who owned a nearby auto body shop, recalled Jennifer complaining about her coworkers mistreating her, and she would make comments like, I hope they pay, but never directly mentioned wanting, of course, to harm anybody. John grew particularly concerned when Jennifer showed up with a patchy, shaved head and told him, quote, I'm going to be gone for a while. And this was actually the last time that he laid eyes on her. He believed Jennifer needed help, but of course never really received
I
it.
think that's obvious. I don't know
Yeah.
what kind of help. I mean, it's such a tough,
Yeah, who could
and
either?
what if she didn't want it? Like this is the type of conversations we kind of need to be having. Like
Yeah,
you can build a homeless shelter, but if those homeless people don't want to go in that shelter and would prefer to live on the street because they have a community there, what do you do?
great point. And I'm sure
What do you?
you've seen and experienced that in LA, especially.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, around this time, a woman named Darlene, who worked at the local counseling services center, saw Jennifer kneeling alone in a post office parking lot talking to herself. I'm just like imagining, especially if I'm a a counselor of some sort, and I see someone kneeling and talking to themselves. To me, that feels really sad. Like they're almost trying to
Yeah.
make some sort of religious connection, like some sort of prayer, maybe. Like that
It
really breaks
clearly
my
is
heart.
manifesting that way
Right.
because of the racist press. I would had to deal with like a lot of religions and
Yeah.
stuff. So there's this
Right.
clearly like obsessive thing about it. I wonder if there was some trauma from
Yeah.
something religious when she was younger.
Well, when Darlene asked if Jennifer was all right, Jennifer replied, quote, they pray before they get in, end quote, referring to her brother and sister who she believed were with her. Darlene was concerned for Jennifer's well being and called the police to request a mental health evaluation. The Grants Police Department later stated that the department had no record of that call.
Hmm.
So some people are saying maybe they're trying to help and maybe they're not. It's hard to say. But at this point, I think it's clear that Jennifer is still having some sort of mental episode.
Yeah, and hopefully she doesn't get lost in the cracks here. In
Right.
August 2005, Jennifer purchased a 9 millimeter Smith& and Wesson handgun from a
Uh-oh.
pawn
Here we
shop in
go.
town for $325. Paul Castillo, the pawn shop owner, said Jennifer did not explain why she was buying the gun. I wonder if you have to explain it.
I
You
I
don't, right?
wonder if I don't think you have to, but I think
Maybe
maybe
they ask or just
they
as like
ask
a
for like some sort of ethical kind of checklist if
maybe.
that makes sense. I don't know.
Because
I think
obviously
it's
it's
easier
easy
to
to
get a gun,
lie.
yeah, and to lie about things and yeah.
She completed the required background check application, which revealed no issues, probably because there was really nothing on her record because no
Well,
one
that's
really
true,
gave a
yeah.
fuck about her.
Right.
Jennifer picked up the gun 2 days later. It's not really anyone's fault that this sort of happens, right? Like, these are one of those instances that, like, I wish there was something to be put in place, but in theory, like, a background check is checking your background. And if there's nothing on your record, does that mean that you've
Right.
never done anything? Like, no, it just means that technically you haven't gotten caught for that or you're clean. And if you don't have a record really to keep of any sorts, like, then in theory, yeah,
Especially around
right?
violence. Also, this is 2005, so who knows exactly what the laws were in there back then, like, compared to now.
And her background check did not reveal any disqualifying records because Jennifer had never officially been adjudicated as mentally defective, nor had she
Right.
been arrested or committed for violence. And to her coworkers' points, she was saying these really threatening things, but not necessarily to anyone in particular. This
Right.
actually reminded me, did I tell you about my neighbor and what happened to us?
I feel like yes, you did. You
Just
mentioned it
as a
on an
reminder,
episode.
but yeah, she
Yeah,
actually
tell
was my
us.
brother when he was here over a year ago, and
Yeah.
she I don't want to disparage. I want to keep as little details as possible. But
Sure.
essentially, she came to my apartment. Nadine was away and I was out. My brother was here, and had said was going through something. I'll just say that. I don't know what it was, but this was not a
Hmm.
normal quote unquote piece of behavior. And she asked if we were. This was right before the October 7th, so this was in 2023. And
Okay.
it's important to know that because she asked if we were Jewish or Israeli. She asked
That's
if we were
right.
Israeli,
I
and
remember
we are
this.
not Israeli. And then had said something like, well, the, Jews had killed my sister and pointed to this painting down the hall. When we have these like
Hmm.
generic apartment paintings in the hallway, whatever, one of them was of a girl's face or something. And then said basically like everyone on this side of the hallway, my side was going to die.
Oh
Now,
my God.
obviously this is someone who was not well. It's not like I took this threat seriously, but at the same time, I had to call
Well,
downstairs and like,
yeah, yeah.
that's not enough to get her evicted because she wasn't saying, I'm going to kill you, right? But she's saying these vague threats and like, I reported it technically, right? But I wasn't really sure what I could technically report outside
Yeah,
of the
what?
fact that I just felt weirded out and I don't want someone like coming to harass my family or me.
Of
When
course not.
you pay to be in a building
To
that should
live in this
protect me.
building.
But it was one of those instances that kind of made me think like, if years down the road this person has a psychotic break and something
For sure.
happens,
That's what we all have to think about,
how
right?
could it have been
Yes.
prevented? And it's a very nuanced type of thing. And I just wanted
Yeah.
to,
No,
it's
that's a
it's
good
kind of
point to
easy for
bring
her to
up
pass a
here.
background check, like it's
Well, as you said, I mean, not to speak here, like for you,
yeah,
but she hadn't been adjudicated or charged with anything. And remember, like,
exactly.
even like the moment being naked or whatever at the gas station, by the time the police showed up, she was clothed. So there's still no
Unless you're taking a picture of
credibility.
it, and
Yeah.
that's what makes these things so hard. So then bought ammunition from another pawn shop in the nearby town of Gallup, New Mexico. Authorities believe Jennifer drove from New Mexico to California the week before the shootings, and on the evening of Monday, January 30th, 2006, between 7:15 and 8:15 p.m. Jennifer began her deadly killing spree. She
Mm,
first shot and killed 54-year-old Beverly Graham, her former neighbor, in Beverly's condo in Santa Barbara. And
wow.
Beverly's body was discovered the
Yeah.
following day.
Yeah, Beverly's boyfriend said that Jennifer often sang loudly outside, which had led to arguments between these two women, which may have been the motive here. Beverly's brother confirmed that Beverly had complained about a woman who, quote, used to come out and rant and rave in front of her building, end quote. This murder was believed to be Jennifer's revenge for those complaints. Around 9 p.m., less than an hour after killing Beverly, Jennifer drove to the Goleta mail processing plant where she had previously worked. She snuck into the facility by driving through a gate behind another car, gained entry to the building by forcing an employee to give her their
Jesus.
identification badge at gunpoint. This employee was not harmed, however, but Jennifer's new buzz cut probably, of course, made her a little less recognizable to her former coworkers. Approximately 80 of the roughly 300 employees were present at the facility when Jennifer arrived.
Jesus.
And she shot and killed 6 employees at the mail sorting plant using her 9 millimeter pistol.
Witnesses reported that she reloaded her gun at least once during the shooting spree. One account said Jennifer ran out of bullets while pointing her gun at a woman, which gave the intended victim and others a chance to escape. Many
Wow.
workers fled to a nearby fire station as the shooting began. I would too,
Of
whatever's
course.
closest.
Yeah.
Jennifer ended the rampage by committing suicide, shooting
Mm,
herself the first day. The total number of victims killed by Jennifer was 7, not including herself, and 6 of the victims were employees at the Goleta mail processing plant. And
yeah.
these victims were 37-year-old Z Fairchild, 28-year-old Malika Higgins, 42-year-old Nicola Grant, 52-year-old Guadalupe Swartz, 57-year-old Dexter Shannon from Oxnard, and 44-year-old Charlotte Colton. It really
Wow.
makes me wonder why these people who do these suicides just kill yourself. Like, I don't understand why you're killing other people. I never understand that. And then
Well, I
like,
mean, not to like process it, but I just assume it's like they want to feel the satisfaction most first and
yes,
foremost,
I guess, and feeling and making causing other people harm maybe
Right.
satisfies
That's
something
what I
in
mean.
you,
Yeah.
but then to kill yourself. Well, the Goleta mail processing plant
Yeah.
shootings became the deadliest shooting at a postal facility in the
Right.
United
Ugh.
States in nearly 20 years. It is also believed to be the deadliest workplace shooting ever committed by a woman.
Right, that does make sense. That's probably still true. Well, authorities searched Jennifer's home in New Mexico for clues about her motive. There, they found writings indicating she believed she was the target of a conspiracy. Detectives said Jennifer left behind writings that alluded to an extremely confusing plot involving the mail sorting plant, a local medical facility, and the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Department. Investigators described the writings as ramblings that were not specific but hinted at a conspiracy. They believed Jennifer's feelings that the post office was out to get her provided a motive for her
Mm.
killings, which is what we were kind of assuming here. Detectives also determined that the Ventura Psychiatric Hospital, where Jennifer had been assessed in 2001, was not the medical facility mentioned in her writings. However, law enforcement declined to identify the facility, suggesting it might have been a place where Jennifer regularly saw a doctor. The 2001 incident, where deputies removed Jennifer from the mail plant, may have caused her to include the sheriff's department in her conspiracy theories, but it was unclear if this event directly kind of motivated that killing
Right.
spree. Authorities did not find a suicide note or will, but they did discover a check with the words will written on it, suggesting Jennifer left a will that could provide more insight. Jennifer's diary of over 100 pages recorded perceived slights and offenses from others, but it did not clarify why she committed the murders. In fact, law enforcement later concluded that nothing in Jennifer's writings correlated directly to the crime. So it sounds like she just was like, all right, I'm ready to go take people
Well,
out.
yeah, or like in a psychotic break where she was like, then just had the means to go do it, you know? I mean, 100 pages,
Yeah.
slights and offenses from others feels you are
That's a lot.
obviously obsessive about something. I mean, we've all been
Right.
slighted, we've all been offended, we've all written about it in our diary, but the only thing that you write about is the slights and offenses? Like, that seems interesting. And then the will written on the check, I just feel like
Yeah,
maybe
what's
that was
that?
just, I don't know, but if
Yeah.
I was just thinking like maybe she's thinking like this is money and this is what I'm giving out and I have
Oh,
none, this is my
maybe.
check. I don't know, or whatever's in my checking account. Like it could have been that. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Um, Santa Barbara County Sheriff Jim Anderson said it was unclear whether Jennifer targeted specific employees. We obviously know that she
Right.
was like staring at that one for a while.
Right.
However, U.S. Postal Inspector Randy DeGasperin stated there was a high probability Jennifer knew the people she shot.
Yeah.
Although all of Jennifer's victims, except Beverly Graham, her neighbor, if you remember, were members of racial minorities, investigators found no evidence the shootings were racially motivated.
Okay. Well, she
I
did have
mean,
the racist press or whatever it's
she
called.
did have
So
that, or did she just happen to work in a place that had that? Like,
that
it's all
had that.
hard,
Yeah.
it's all kind of hard to say. Detectives speculated that Jennifer's massive paranoia and history of mental illness likely motivated her actions, and I think that's probably a fair assessment to make. They
Yeah.
questioned whether her rampage was driven by clear grudges or was a manifestation of psychosis, and concluded that the shattered community might never fully understand her motives. Perhaps it's a combination of
Yeah. It
both.
could be all of that
And
stuff.
it's
Right.
hard to know what you could prove in court now, but more than 1,200 mourners attended a funeral for Charlotte Colton on February 3rd,
Wow.
2006. The church overflowed with friends, family, community members who came to honor her memory. Since the tragedy, 6 trees have been planted in memory of the six
Mm.
postal workers who were killed. I actually kind of wish I knew about this before going. I just would be curious about how they kind of
Yeah, I know,
commemorate that in
right?
that town
Yeah.
25 years, 20 years later. A plaque
Right.
bearing the victims' names were installed at the mail processing plant to commemorate their lives. Security measures at the postal facility were improved following the shootings to prevent future
Yeah.
tragedies. I think that's probably why sometimes when you go into a post office now, it almost feels like you're walking into like the lobby of a
Yeah.
prison. It's
Yeah.
like double plated glass and everything is like really, you can't touch anything. And it's just, you got to stand in line and everything's really strict, like, I don't
Especially in.
remember. Go
Sorry. Go
ahead.
ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't remember going to the post office as a kid, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, there's security measures in place for
I was
sure.
gonna say in my hometown, which is very small, it's not like that. Like there aren't things, but in cities, all the cities I've been to, it is exactly how you just described it.
Even the FedEx in New York City by 30 Rock, you have to get buzzed in.
I remember that. Yes, you're
You have to be
right.
buzzed in. There's got to
That's
be a reason
weird.
for that.
Yeah.
Curious why mail just seems to be
I know,
this
just set
overarching
people off,
issue.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Former coworkers and friends continue to remember and honor the victims. They speak of their kindness, their dedication to their work, and the bright impact they had on those around them. Sad all
Yeah.
around. Obviously, she killed herself. Innocent victims. Perhaps she was sort of innocent herself of being a victim of her
A victim.
psychosis.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that exactly.
But
Yeah.
really fucking sad, fucking tragic. And one of those cases that I think really just makes you think about what laws could be put in place or not be put in place that could prevent these. And I think
Right.
nothing is a perfect system. You could invent a million laws or you could have complete anarchy, right? And people are still going to find a way to do something crazy. Like you can't prevent everything bad from happening. You cannot, like we're not going to ban knives because someone stabbed you. You can't. But it does
Right.
sort of make you think a little bit about mental illness and its place in society and like what's our responsibility as a society to those people who do suffer from this.
That's a great point. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Anyway, let us know what you think at Jay Thrasher, at Carpe Daryn, Shaken and Disturbed podcast fans on Facebook, or write us on Patreon. We always want to answer your questions there. Please see my dog dancing on there. John, let's end with some
Yeah,
positivity,
let's.
some listener shout outs. John, our friend Coco in the Facebook group sent you a post about David
Oh my
Archuleta.
God.
Oh, God. Performing at Epcot in Orlando. Great, guys. He's moving to Florida. Saying, quote, John Thrasher, David Archuleta will be there. Going to go. Everyone needs to know if you're going. Everyone needs to know if you're going. Are you moving to Orlando? Are you a Disney adult? Go.
I'm not a Disney adult. I'm not moving to Orlando, although I have a friend that did move there a couple years ago and he loves it there. So maybe I will not be attending this. And I will tell you that the reason I'm not, Coco, thank you, by the way, for thinking of me, is because David is coming to Pittsburgh again. That's
And you
right.
have to prep yourself. You can't possibly be seeing him out of your comfort zone. That would be crazy.
We'll have to prep my body. I have
Where
to
are you going
prep
to take
my
him to
my
Orlando? A
brain.
hotel room?
Yeah,
No. Like
right.
you want to
Not in
take him back to
Orlando.
magic. Let a little magic happen.
Yeah, so more on that in a future NMR because I do, as I've said recently, I do need to make a plan this time around. I'm getting a second chance to really make an effort and an impact in his life.
This is the
So
universe
I hope
push.
so. Well, first of all, this is like third time's a charm. The first time was when my friend interviewed him on a red carpet and got to really have a conversation with him and then didn't give my number to him. Strike
But
number
you don't
one.
you don't
But
have
we don't
friends, so
need to
that's
talk
not.
about
Yeah,
that. We
no,
don't
I
need to
don't
talk about
know.
who
We
did
don't know.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
there's
don't
no
know who that
friends in
was.
your life. Yeah,
Second time was him being literally feet away from my
and staring at
apartment
you.
and staring at me in my pictures, and then make me making him laugh on Instagram. Okay, we're best friends, we're soulmates, we're gonna get married.
And you blew it because you wouldn't go
And I
to a
did
meet and
blow it.
greet
I know
beforehand.
I should
So
have done
you
that. It's a
blew it.
whole thing. I did blow it all up. But anyway, so third time's a charm. He'll be back later this year, and I'll let you guys know how that goes. But thank you, Coco, for thinking of me. By the way, I wanted to mention this little shout out. We know that you guys, some of you guys have had to take a break from listening to our recent episode, number 202, the Chicago Rippers. It was gruesome.
Yeah.
We agree. Which is why we included that little trigger warning at the beginning that I just kind of pre-recorded for everybody. So Candace, Catherine, and others who have had to bypass some of the other details, I just want to say, and on behalf of Daryn and myself, we totally understand. Like, please don't feel like you have to apologize for skipping an episode or
Just
skipping some of
enjoy the
those
show
moments.
and
We
yeah.
totally get that. Yes, it does. Please do enjoy the show. This is also, by the way, why we keep doing NMR episodes so that you guys can come and check in with us without all the heavy murder details. But we just wanted to say thank you all for sticking with the show nonetheless. And don't worry, they won't be all as gruesome as episode 202 was. And we also know that some of you guys are a little sick and twisted and you kind of like those details. So that episode is for you guys if you're
Something
into
for
that
everyone.
stuff. Yeah, exactly. For
And
example, I will just say
yeah,
this, Megan's a little dark. And she would say
she
that she's dark.
appreciates the dark
Yeah, she
arts. Yeah,
appreciates the
she
dark arts
appreciates
in
the
Harry
dark
Potter world.
arts.
And
Yeah.
so Megan produced that episode and definitely I think maybe kind of not enjoyed it, but maybe like added her own little spice to it, I guess could be one way to
Yeah.
put it. Yeah, we love
Yeah.
Megan though for that. So
And be
thank
sure
you guys though.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. And be sure to join us on Patreon to help support the show. If you're listening to this on our main podcast feed, you get it a full week earlier
That's
on Patreon,
right.
plus very fun videos of my dog. That's all you really need to know. That's worth it
Hello.
alone. Hello.
Patreon.com/shaken and disturbed. Thank you for all of you who are already a patron. You can be a friend, a best friend, a radish, or a sussy radish. And by that, you get your name on this little chalkboard behind us. So
Near Snooper the Boot. Just saying.
that's right. And magic. There you go. Daryn, take care, brush your hair, and I'll see you next time.
Please be neat. Wipe the seat. I'll see you next time, John.
Okay, bye.